Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? Because it's time to put them on. Because the conversation starts now. So, Brains, guess who we have today? Kari Petruch. She down there in Texas. I was grilling her, asking her all kind of questions about what's going on in Texas and are the people friendly? Because I'm thinking about buying some land down there. But as long as Kari's down there, everything's going to be fine. So we are going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about adult conversations. You know, Kari's been through a lot in her life, and she's going to share with us a little bit about that. Writing a book is a great opportunity to share your story, but also elevate and educate others. She's going to give us an exclusive reading, and I'm so glad to be with her. She's worked with Tony Robbins. I've worked with Tony Robbins, and that's work. You got to put in the work. It's not about a joke when you're dealing with Tony. You're really trying to up level. So let's welcome her to the edge today. How you doing, Kari Petruch?
Really good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, me and the brains love you, honey. We love you before you even get started because you got a story to tell. So start with your humble beginnings and tell us a little bit about who you are and how you show up in the world.
Well, the humble beginnings are that I was raised by a mother who suffered from mental illness. And as a small child, my whole world was flipped. So what I thought was real wasn't real. I lived with a mother who told me that things were there that weren't there and woke me up at 2 a.m. to kill bugs on the wall that didn't exist. So starting school, I thought there was something wrong with me, that I was the one who was wrong. And of course I get to school and the kids are, they see what I see, they hear what I hear. And it was very, very confusing to me. I had no socialization skills. I was very isolated, and I suffered a lot of mental, physical, and emotional abuse. So I didn't really know what it was like to have a relationship or even think about a friend, and I didn't trust anybody. And so I pretty much withdrew. I was very, very quiet, and I observed people all the time. I watched their reactions. I watched what they did, what they said, whether it was good or cruel. I did a lot of watching and observing how people treat each other. I really didn't care for that much, but I still stayed quiet because I was so afraid. And I married someone who was also not very good to me. And what I did after 27 years of marriage is I fled and I got out of it. And I successfully negotiated a life on my own. And I was inspired by other couples who'd been together for a long time. I was inspired by all of the relationships that I had seen. And I wanted to have the very best relationship I could. And so, of course, when I left that marriage, I went and I got help, and I started doing all of the footsteps to learn about how I could help other people in relationships. Of course, I went through Tony's stuff. I went through a therapist. I just did a deep dive, intensive, get better, and I healed. Through those steps and through faith, I healed very, very well. Through all of the things that I went through, I never lost my faith in something bigger than me, never, ever, never wavering. And I always knew that there was a purpose and there was a reason. And it was a wonderful man who told me that absolutely everything that I have been through, every step, every experience, everything in my life was for a purpose. And I finally found my purpose. And the reason why I got into changing people's lives and relationships was because I noticed there were so many people who wanted to focus on the negative parts about the relationship. And I noticed that the more that they focused on everything that was wrong with their relationship, more went wrong. And so what I decided to do was to come at relationships in a completely different way. by beginning with looking at childhood beliefs and why they believed what they believed, so that they could begin to build a box together instead of having two separate boxes in one house.
Right, right. And people sometimes have suppressed these emotions and feelings to the point where, they need some real deep therapy. Talk therapy just doesn't do it. Do you incorporate other modalities in the work that you do with people? Is there meditation? Is there hypnotherapy? Is there Reiki? Is there vodka?
Well, I do teach people to go back to why they got together in the first place. And I teach them hands-on experiences to change. So I don't believe that people can change just by listening to someone. I don't believe that people can change by just, absorbing the information. I believe people truly can change when they actually physically, mentally, and spiritually dedicate themselves to that change. I also know that change needs to be in little bites.
Right. Because
Little
people,
bites.
people try to eat the whole sandwich instead of cutting it into bite-sized pieces.
Right.
Because you got to take it, brains, you got to analyze it, you got to see if it worked. That particular thing may not work. I get that. It may not work. You may have to go in and tweak it. You may have to discard it altogether. But if you try to take everything, and when we talk about everything, that can include the totality of your life, your relationships with your kids, with your family, with your job, your finances, your health. You're just trying to take everything and just shove it all down. You're going to get indigestion and you're going to end up regurgitating everything. So don't do that. Do like Kari says, is, take bite-sized pieces. Work at it, because then you'll be able to chart your progress. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And change doesn't come overnight. There's so often we do things like, I'm going to go on a diet in the new year and I'm going to lose weight and blah blah blah, and then you go through this whole program for what, 30 days, maybe 60 days, and you give up because it's like, I'm going to turn my entire life around. When change happens with little things. Okay, I'm going to walk for 15 minutes every day. We can do that. We can walk for 15 minutes every day. Saying I'm going to walk, 5 miles every day, I'm going to make.
Right. I'm not going to eat I'm not going to eat this. I'm not going to eat that. Well, I told that lie to myself.
Yes.
And I went right on back to the bread and the pasta and all that stuff. But what I do is I take ownership. That's the first thing.
Absolutely.
And that, that drives me crazy when people are in this victim mentality. You can't win that way. You're already behind the 8 ball. Right?
Well, I think you're right, April, except the difference between, people don't really know what victim mentality truly is. Any blaming that we do for anyone else, for our own choices, our own actions, all that blaming stuff that goes on, that's all victim mentality. And educating people about, what really victim mentality is also key and essential to know that everything that we do in our life is a choice. Okay, it might not have been a really good choice, but it's still, we have choices in our lives. And it's a rare thing when something happens that we don't have a choice. When we're a little tiny kid, no, we don't have choices. But as adults, we make our choices. Even when we don't like them, we made a choice.
I want to dial back to your childhood. Were there siblings?
Yes, I have a younger brother.
And was he subjected to the same type of treatment?
No, not really. He was really good at hiding. I was really good at taking responsibility for everything.
Okay. And did your mother ever come up out of the fog?
No, she still suffers from mental illness.
Bless her heart. Yeah. Was there a father there? Was there any way for you to escape?
No, but I had a grandmother, and she was my saving grace. My grandmother took care of my brother and I, and was just, there's where I got my snuggles, my loves, my support, all the things that I could get from her. And it was a little bit later in my childhood, but I did get all of those things and spent most of my time with her.
Did this trauma cause you to have some at-risk behaviors during your adolescence and young adult?
It's interesting because, I do a lot of work with women who've been through things like that. I didn't fall into the at-risk category. I went the other way. The other way was isolation, withdrawal, no at-risk. I was afraid to take chances, afraid to do risk taking. I was very, very afraid all of the time and found comfort in isolation.
So how'd you find love? How'd you end up getting married and beginning to trust?
Well, the first thing that I did is I had a wonderful friend of mine who is like incredible with telling me, and she's still my best friend in the whole world, I can have anything I want. And she taught me how to do a manifest list. And so many people write down, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And she taught me the right way to write that manifest list and to ask for it. And the brilliant story of that is I was dating my husband, who's the love of my life. And he wanted me to see his house. And I was kind of leery about going over there. Well, I went over there and then I had to go to the restroom. And I had created my manifest list. Up on the wall, as big as life, by his sink, was a manifest list that had the exact description of what he wanted in a life mate. And it matched mine identically for what we wanted. But the really amazing thing about that list is that both lists were written on exactly the same day.
What?
Yeah, both lists.
What is that?
On exactly the same day. I mean, not the same day of the week, month, but the same year, this exact same day.
What you say, baby, you are the one for me.
No, I walked out and said, well, maybe. I didn't tell him that I had a list with the same date on it until a little bit later when my trust was built. So.
Let me ask a question. For a person that's in a risky space like that, it's hard for them to self-disclose to another individual. They're afraid of judgment. They're afraid that this person is going to abandon them. They're afraid that this person is going to take on those same characteristics. What would you say to that person that's struggling right now?
What I'd say to that person that's struggling right now is if you're talking about if they're dating in a dating situation.
Yeah, if they're trying to find love,
right.
and they they're going through all this because
there is this thing inside your heart, inside your gut, inside your mind that tells you no. It does tell you. Often we ignore that no. Don't ignore that no. Don't ever ignore that no. If somebody gets angry and you feel rage within them, but they're not screaming and yelling at you at that moment, but you can feel that. You really know it because you've experienced it. Pay attention, walk away. Pay attention, walk away. That person is not for you. And very often people who have been abused know how to be in the box of crap. So they go toward the box of crap. So if it looks like a box of crap and it smells like a box of crap, walk away. You deserve better.
Right. And don't be afraid. And listen to your children, Brains. Your children are observers. They're not born liars. They're taught to lie. They're taught to hate. They're taught to steal. Those are taught behaviors. Those are learned behaviors. So if your child is telling you, Mom, I don't know if I like this person, or Mom, don't leave me with this particular person, or you start crying, or they're not with you, or they're flinching, or whatever, pay attention to those signs because something's not right. They got to pass the sniff test. It's like a dog. One of my other guests turned me on to something that I had no idea. They said you can tell if a person is an abuser or an abusive situation because the abuser attacks the animal. So if they have a dog, they beat the dog, and I had no idea that was a part of the characteristic. But then I got to thinking. I had a girlfriend of mine that her husband socked the chihuahua in the eye. Who does that to a chihuahua?
That's so sad.
But needless to say, he socked her in her eye too.
Well, yeah. And there's also another telltale sign. When you go out to dinner and you're dating, pay attention to how your date treats the wait staff.
Really?
Pay attention to how they treat the people that are serving them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're not treating them well, you can be darn sure that they're not going to treat you any better.
Or mommy issues. How a man treats his mother. My husband treated his mother with kid gloves. My mother, me. I'll observe that. How does he talk about his sister?
Yeah.
Does he call her a four-legged dog? Those type of things are key indicators as to some sort of damage. But women are damaged too.
Yes, and I do want to tell you that people are damaged. People have experiences where they've been hurt or they've had to heal or go through those things. We don't marry each other or get into a serious relationship with each other without some kind of hurt that was there. Whatever it is, there's always some kind of hurt. It's just the ability to heal and to overcome and to be better and do better. Do they have the want to do it differently?
Well, they have to see it. They have to find examples. And, again, that's like your kids growing up. My daughter is not dating anyone seriously right now. And I said, well, what's up with that? I want some grandkids. She said, I'll get you a puppy.
Yeah, there you go.
But she said, Mom, I don't want my life to be like a t-ball game. And I said, a t-ball game? What are you talking about? She says, well, now all the kids get trophies for participation. She said, when I'm the trophy, I want you to win. I want to be the prize. Because I've been able to see and mirror the examples of the love that you and Dad share. That's the kind of love that I want. And I'll sit and I'll wait for it.
Absolutely.
And I was so glad that she was able to do that. But I told her, honey, you got to kiss a few frogs till you find a prince.
Who said?
She knows,
Who said? I don't want to kiss no frogs.
I know, but it's trial and error, Kari. You've got to learn you got to learn some life lessons as long as you know your boundaries. When somebody starts cussing at you and you're watching how much alcohol or drugs they're consuming, when you go somewhere and you're dating and they're not paying attention to you, not only are they treating the wait staff badly, but they kind of looking up under a skirt at the same time. All these things are key indicators. You have to pay attention. It's called data collecting, okay? AKA dating.
Well, it's easier. I'm introverted, so I observe a lot. I pay a lot of attention.
Are you empathic? Do you take on a lot of people's emotions?
Yes, ma'am. I am an empath. Yeah, but I don't take on their emotions anymore.
Do you find that being a challenge? I don't. I have a sense of being an empath, but I can turn it off. I don't get so caught up in it where it consumes me. There's some people that it takes over their life.
Well, okay, so real quick, I'll tell you this. Everyone has empathic abilities. Everyone does. They've all got,
Well, unless they're narcissists. If they're
okay. That's still pretty rare. So if we all at some level, even if it's the tiniest minuscule amount, we have some feeling in there for other people. And so being an empath is overload of the senses, to feel, to know things, to feel in your body, to feel in your heart, to feel in your soul, those kinds of things from other people. It is difficult, but if you're sick, then it's not such a good thing. If you're well and you have tools to separate yourself from people that would make you sick, then it is a beautiful gift.
Well, you know what? You got to be able to edit and filter. So you wrote a book.
Yeah.
You wrote all of this down. Let me see that book. Put it up next to your pretty face. Nope, let's see. It said, get out of the box, and I can't see that. It's kind of close. Into play. So get out of the box and into play. That sounds like something kind of kinky.
I
ain't
know
nothing
it
wrong with
does.
Cindy.
I know it does, but it
Ain't nothing wrong with it
isn't.
because again, life is not vanilla. Everybody doesn't like the same flavor. Life is
Nope.
a smorgasbord. Everybody's not going to have the same thing on their plate. But
Nope.
learning the art of play, learning the art of having a good time, laughing, what does that mean? Does that mean tickling? Does that mean dribbling a ball? Does that mean playing with the thoughts inside of your head? What does that play actually mean,
Well,
Kari?
April, it means lay down that message that you got as a child that it's not okay to play and that grown-ups aren't allowed to play. It means go get on a hot summer day, go get those little dollar squirt guns from the dollar store and chase each other around the yard with the squirt guns. It means go back to playing because you played when you got together. You did. And then the responsibilities came and then the kids came and blah, blah, blah. And then you come into my office and tell me you're bored. And if you're bored, you're boring. There is no reason not to play. There is no reason that if the kids are away or the kids are grown and gone or you don't have kids yet, that you can't put an apron on and nothing else and cook your man some dinner.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
You can have fun all day, every day. You can, and if you're not having fun in your relationship, then you're the problem.
Right. And nobody's going to be able to fix that for you. So read us an excerpt from your book, Kari. Let us know where you're coming from and how we can incorporate this in our life.
Well, what I'm going to read to you is the box. And this is what got me started on wanting to write the book. It says, when I was born, my box was simple and clean. I filled the box with flowers, butterflies, birds, singing in the bright morning sunshine. I placed the clean, fluffy clouds with the sun rays shining through and believed that this was God who answered my prayers. Someone broke my box with stabs of needles and knives. They told me that my box was ugly and not worthy. They told me my box needed to stay away from everyone else's box. I still had the beautiful things that I put into the box, and I would sing to the clouds so that God would hear me. I prayed to the clouds so that I would be saved. I worked hard to patch all the holes, dents, tears in my box, but I patched them with newspaper and glue. I pretended that there was nothing wrong with my box and imagined that it was new as it once was. More people broke my box, and still I believed in that God who was in my clouds. The more my box was damaged, the harder I tried to fix it with my glue and tape. Soon the box was a sad looking box. I wanted to stay in that box and never come out. One day, someone beautiful invited me to open the top of my box and encouraged me to come out and play. I knew what my box looked like, and I was sure what was inside. Climbing out of the box was too scary. I decided to be brave and open the box. When I opened the box, I cried. I cried so many tears that my box was very wet. Having a wet box isn't very comfortable, so I decided to crawl out of my box and have a look around. Once again, I began to see that there were beautiful things to see and experience outside of my box. I discovered that my box didn't look like other boxes, and I realized that my box was my very own box and that my box could be any way I wanted it to be. So I found better tools and supplies to fix my box so that it looked just the way it was always meant to look. My box was repainted and repaired. I removed the top so that I could always see the sky, the moon, and the stars. I made a safe place with love and care. I made a corner for an altar so that I could be next to my God whenever I wanted. I made a place just for fun and for laughter so that I could always remember to have joy. The paint of my box was tossed to the wind so that it couldn't hurt me anymore. My box has many colors. It's covered in glorious mosaic tiles that make me who I am. Today, my box is a beautiful reflection of me. Change your box.
Absolutely. And you know what, Brains? Your box doesn't have to be square. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't. You know, you can have a box with no ceiling and no floors.
Right.
You have to create your box. When people say think outside of the box, design
Mhm.
it. Design it first, because that's your container. That's what
Yes.
holds you. That's what holds your space, your belongings, your pride, your self-worth. And I'm so proud of you, Kari, that you took the top off of that box and now you are sharing the contents of that with other individuals. People just don't know. They're afraid. And fear is such a big captor, but it takes a lot of responsibility. You got to be a risk taker. You know, that's like me. I like to shoot dice. People say it's
Oh,
not. People say it's not ladylike. I don't care. my
what?
brother, my brother taught me how to shoot dice. You
Right.
know, a long time ago. He said, "Girl, let me tell you, if you ever get broke, let me show you how to make a quick hustle, without having to sell your soul to the devil." But again, it is a crapshoot, and it's either 7 or 11.
It
You're
is.
gonna make that point, or you're not,
And that's fun.
and
That's
it's
fun.
fun. It's fun.
Taking those risks, being brave, going out there, living your life, having the experiences that you can because you can, makes life so much more interesting.
It does. Do you have children?
I do. I have 3 grown children and I have 8 grandchildren.
Wow. What are you pouring into those people?
Oh, but into my children,
Into your children, you know,
love,
about your experience. Yeah, but about your
love,
experience.
love, experience. But my children are really proud of where I've come.
Mm,
They support me all the time. They tell me how much they love me and how much they support me, and they can't believe that I'm traveling all over the country and I'm doing what I'm doing and that I wrote a book, and they're like, "Mom, you wow." Because they didn't imagine that I would do that. And I just look at them and smile and say, I'm just who I was always supposed to be.
right. What do you want your legacy to be, Kari?
My legacy is I want my children to pass on that play, pass on those good feelings onto their own children. I want to, I want to, I want to be able, the legacy is I want them to stop the what do I want to say? I want them to stop the abuse. That's what I want them to do. And they don't abuse their children. They're very loving with their children. And I want the whole cycle to stop. That's the word I was looking for. I want
Do
to
you have
stop
any,
the cycle.
do you have any suggestions for, this is a tough one, for
Mhm.
someone that is living with someone with mental illness? Do you, do you recommend a support group? Do you suggest that they move out? Do you suggest that they try to find a alternative buffer in the household for that person? What do you say? Because mental health is not the scar that you see from the outside. It's a wound that's opened up and bleeding in the inside. And I'm sure that if your mother could see
Mhm.
the woman that you are now, the person that you are, the little beautiful daughter that she had, there's no way in the world, if everything was functioning properly, if her box and her container was right, that she would have done that. It's hard to forgive, and it's even harder to forget. But what do you say to that person in support?
If there is physical, mental, or emotional abuse that's going on, get out. Call somebody, get out. If they are taking medication and they're working on themselves and the love is there, there's no reason that you can't heal from this and you can't have a relationship with each other and a love with each other. um, if you're living with somebody that is responsible with taking their medication and functioning in life, just stay there, be in love and have fun and do this stuff. If you're with someone who refuses to take their medication and becomes abusive physically, mentally, or emotionally, it's time to go.
Yeah, well, okay. You can speak from experience because you don't want to abandon somebody that you love, especially a parent. Children
Mhm.
want to be with their biological parents no matter what.
Well,
But
I will tell you statistically, for every year of abuse someone suffers from someone else, it takes on average 5 years to recover
mm, mm,
for every year. You know, there's always, I will tell you, there's always little hauntings that happen in my life too. And I've forgiven. I have forgiven everything that there is, but that doesn't mean those thoughts don't come in. You know, I've had to work on my self-esteem for years and years and years now. I've had to work on worthiness and loving myself and taking care of myself because I put everyone else before me. That's how I was trained to be. So today, you know, the word no is something I can say that I couldn't say 10 years ago.
Do you think people have, I don't want to say a responsibility, but do you think that people should always self-disclose their personal pain?
If you're gonna enter into a serious relationship that results in a union, yeah.
Okay. But you know, you start a networking group.
Mm-hmm.
This is just an example. I love alcoholics too. Hi, I'm April. I'm an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
Do people really need to do that? You know, sometimes my mother would always say, don't give people ammunition to fight you with. I don't know if that's also really, I don't know if that's really a key turn approach to healing. I'm
Mhm.
thinking that the person is still stuck.
You
I
know,
like to
yeah.
I like to introduce myself. Hi, I'm April. And then and
Yes.
edit and filter and let you, figure it out. We build a relationship, we might go there. But that doesn't have to be a part of my introduction every time I meet somebody.
No, and I agree with you. I agree with you. And I absolutely know that when a person says something like that, they're putting the responsibility for like if you said I'm an alcoholic, you're putting the responsibility of you drinking onto that other person.
I think so too, and
Right.
you're looking for an empathy card or a sympathy card. Okay, well,
Yes.
don't go so hard on me because I was this or I was that, or don't offer me a drink or don't drink around me. You've got all these
That's
parameters
a
about what you've
that's
done.
that's a telltale sign of someone who's new in recovery.
Okay, all right. Okay. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a telltale sign of somebody who's new in recovery. You know, they don't mean to. They just are so scared that it's going to be around them.
Mm,
And people who have long-term sobriety don't do that. They don't say, "Hey, I'm so and so, and I'm this." You know, they don't have a
right.
need to anymore.
Right. And they will identify with you. You'll get a look,
Mhm.
you'll get a wink, you'll get a nod, you'll get an
Mhm.
acknowledgement. Something will let you know. Your energy will connect. But you don't
Right.
necessarily have to tell people,
No,
that I am this, and this,
no.
because that's not who you are. You are a victim of circumstance.
Right. And it's a would you like something to drink? No, thank you.
Right.
You know, and then
Right.
later on, if you get serious and that information does need to come out eventually. If you're in a serious relationship, that does, because if you don't tell, then it's kind of smoke and mirrors stuff. All those things do come out in time.
Right.
And there are a lot of people that just like dump all their stuff on somebody when they first meet them. And if somebody's dumping all their stuff on you when you first meet them, run.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because they're trying to
Run.
fill up your box brains. And it's not your toy box. How about that?
Yeah, no. I don't care how sexy she is or sexy he is or whatever it is. If they're dumping all their crap on you in the first few dates, run.
Wow. So be sure to tell my brains how to get in contact with you, Kari, and how to purchase a copy of that book. And if they want to work with you, any offerings that you might have for my brains.
So, my book is Get Out of the Box and Into Play, The Secret to a Lasting Relationship, and it can be found on Amazon. So you can get it anytime, and pretty soon it will be available on Kindle. Right now it's still in paperback. You can get a hold of me at Kari Petruch at highestintentcoach.com. When you go to my website, I have a free gift for you. And the free gift is 50 ways that couples can play together.
Oh,
So
shoot.
50 ways that
Is
you can.
it PG?
Oh, Sort of.
I don't want it if it's PG. I want it triple X.
Naked Monopoly is in there. You know, every time you get free park, every time you got to go to jail, you got to take off a piece of clothing.
Oh, shoot.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to be a lifetime criminal because I love nakedness. But nakedness is also revealing your vulnerability, Brains, and stripping down to who you are.
Absolutely. So that's in there. It's a PDF. Won't take you more than 10 minutes to read it, but you might want to print it out and keep it because you can have all kinds of fun for a long time doing that. And while you're in there, if you want a 15-minute discovery call with me to find out what it is that I can do to help you and your special partner, you can schedule that right there at the website, no problem.
Brains, let me offer just one last suggestion. There's a lot of people in difficult situations. Before you say the big D, I want a divorce, I want a separation, look back on the times when times were good, as long as they're not doing nothing crazy and they got the hands on you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But look back to when times were good. Change the design of your box. Reach out to somebody like Kari that is an expert in the field. Again, she may not know everything about your situation, but she knows a whole lot. There's a lot of tools that she can give you. The book is a valuable resource. It's fun. Challenge yourself to be creative, to be open, to discover the divine that is you. Thank you so much for being here on The Edge, Brains. This is where I want you to go. You see that right there? It says podcast. Me. You see these places right here? Okay. I need you to check it out. I need you to subscribe. I need you to share, like, and love. Leave a comment. If you think this is a bunch of hooky that me and Kari are talking about, let us know. Because how are we going to correct, the things that are in our box if you don't speak up? What's going on in today's environments? They're a lot different. Relationships are not what we consider traditional ones before. Polyamorous relationships.
Absolutely.
There's, transgender relationships, gay relationships. People are living together like some celebrities I know. You don't know what kind of relationship, but you define what your parameters are. I don't define it for you. What makes you happy? What tickles your fancy? So Kari is definitely the person for that. Thank you so much for being here with me and my brains. I love you deeply and completely. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Brains, get your box together.